Hello, and welcome to the Legal Marketing Brief, the series where we showcase attorneys from across the country and learn about the strategies they use to market successful practices. I'm John Simpson, the CEO of Converted Marketing. Today, we're sitting down with Tony Miller from the law firm of Trapito, Miller, Griffin in Kansas City. Tony is a criminal law attorney with more than 20 years' experience. We'll talk to him about how he started his practice, the marketing tactics he uses to run his firm, and his advice for attorneys that want to attract and retain more clients. The team here at Converted Marketing has partnered with Tony for several years to generate leads and represent his brand online. We hope you enjoy our discussion with Tony. So it seems like you've been practicing, I tried to do the math, was it about 23 years or so since you were admitted?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. How did you know when you first wanted to become an attorney?
Hopefully my reasons have evolved and I've grown as a human being. But when I was about 5 or 6 years old, my mother took me to watch my uncle, who was a defense lawyer at the time, try a case in a rural courtroom in Decatur County, Iowa. So I went there and I was playing with Hot Wheels cars, and I remember rolling them loud on the wooden pew. It was almost like an old church pew, you know. And I remember being told to be quiet. And it was my uncle, who I really looked up to, thought he was super cool and still do. My other uncle, his brother, was also a lawyer. And I remember I grew up in this small farm town, and then my mom took me to Des Moines, Iowa to see that uncle. And he was in the top of a glass skyscraper. I mean, I was a hillbilly. I'd never been in a building before, like that, or ridden an elevator. And so here we are, and my uncle's, ends up being the managing partner of this huge firm, the big civil defense firm in Iowa. And I remember he got me a Sun-Kissed soda, and then somehow I promptly dumped it on his desk. So anyway, those are my memories from like recognizing that my uncles were lawyers, and then just watching them and knowing them and learning about what they did, hearing stories about what they did. And then at an early age, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Let me go a different direction and say, so your clients today, now that you're on the defense side,
Mm-hmm.
when you're at your best, how would they describe your services?
We try to be empathetic, let them understand that we understand. And we try to say, take this awful thing that you're dealing with and hand it to us. Let us have it. Let us walk with it and let us deal with it. And so I'd like to think that from their perspective, that we take away some of the anxiety and some of the things that they're dealing with, and we give them as much as you can in law or medicine or anything else, certainty, So you can never say, this is exactly how this is going to turn out. But what we can say is recognizing that all cases are different, sir, or ma'am, your fact pattern is something that I've seen over my practice, and this is what I think could happen, and based on my experience. And I guess another thing I say we offer is specific knowledge about specific places. So we don't take cases in every single court anywhere. We go places where we're comfortable and we have relationships, and we know, where we should be, when, and who we should talk to, and all those kinds of things, so that we can get the best outcome for the client.
So I was reviewing your biography, and obviously TMG provides many services across the board, dare I say almost full service. What is the scope of your particular practice?
So it's funny, the Supreme Court is pretty, at least in Missouri, we can't call ourselves specialists or experts or anything like that. So it's interesting looking at people's marketing and stuff and thinking, ooh, that's touching the line. But anyway, we just tell people, as a matter of fact, if you were to look behind the scenes and see the content of our work, 90% of this stuff is going to be DWIs and drugs. And then there's a chunk of it that's going to be different miscellaneous offenses. I know people think, municipal practice is lowbrow. This is important stuff to people. These are business owners who've been cited for violating, the city's trying to shut them down. This is their business. This is their livelihood. So we go in and, you know, try to use that knowledge to try to get them a good outcome.
Absolutely. The stakes could not be higher when you're dealing with the target market that you're dealing
Yeah.
with. At CIT, we work with solo and small law firms, generally speaking, up to 15, 20 attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
But some of our clients are on the earlier spectrum in their career. And one of the questions I had for you was, when you think about your evolution from being recruited into the law firm from the prosecutor side, can you talk about the evolution of your practice and maybe some pivotal moments that have occurred during that time?
Yeah. I mean, the firm thing was very important, and I'm still good friends with the people I worked for at that time. But I realized that I couldn't do everything and be good at everything. I wanted to limit what I was doing and focus. So, if I had to give somebody any advice who's starting out, I would just say, figure out what you enjoy and what you're good at, because you're going to spend plenty of time doing it, right? And so, and also, is it feasible? Um, I did have delusions of grandeur at once that I was going to do all these great injury cases, and someday I may. Who knows? But we all know that there's a huge economic upfront outlay if you're going to hire experts and you're going to build a file and you're going to work a case up properly. And I've seen lawyers try cases and lose $500,000 in case expenses, and I just that just wasn't what I was wanting to do. So I kind of figured out what would work for me and what was interesting to me and what I thought I was good at. And this is what we do.
Yeah, that's great. Like focus, interest, and economic feasibility.
Yeah,
Uh,
because it's not going to work for everybody. I mean, and some people, this wouldn't work for them either. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to use your law degree and and to practice law. Some people, I'm fortunate to be an owner in this firm with really good partners, that are like family to me. Some people want to do it on their own. Others want to be of counsel and not do any of the administrative or worry or carry their name on a line of credit those are just kind of, what is your risk tolerance? What is your life? And you're starting off as young as I was with no responsibilities to speak of, and then looking at where I am now, um, you know, wonderful wife and kids, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. And so, could I jump out right now and start a practice like this if I was a non-traditional law student who had gone later in life, perhaps? I don't know. You know, you never know.
Absolutely, I like your risk profile changes over time for
It
sure.
does. Yeah.
So along those lines, one of the things that we always talk to our folks at CIT about is really understanding what makes that attorney tick, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and what we found is that when we ask attorneys what their definition of success is, right? Practice
Mm-hmm.
success, we get very different answers. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
we'll hear, I want a 7-figure or 8-figure practice or what have you. We'll have another client say, I want to be able to hire a number of associates so I can take longer vacations. I want to create a succession plan for my firm that includes my children, whatever it might be. And so putting that question back to you, where you are at right now, how do you define success in your practice?
God, it's a moving target for us. And I say us collectively as partners here. Um, we have kind of slowly built our way to the number of people we have working here. So I feel like if we can create a good work environment for our staff, that improves everything, including the experience for the customer and just not hating coming to work every day. And I think that's a success. Help each other if there's some crossover. Oh my God, I'm booked. Can someone from another department even handle a hearing for me? But it's like I feel like we're working together. I feel like success is being able to plan, and so we have retirement accounts that we fund, and the individuals fund, and then the firm contributes to. We've got a benefit plan and things for staff and the other lawyers too. I feel like one other measure of success is probably our flexibility to some extent. We'll have families and things, and so being able to be there and to be there at your kids' sporting events or go to the choir concert or be present for things you're needing to be present for.
This idea that success is being able to plan, I really, really like that. You're right. I mean, when you're just trying to keep your head above water and you're fresh into starting your entrepreneurial endeavor, you'd love to plan, but you really just got to pay the bills, But
Right.
you need to a point where you can think about something bigger, and then you can think about bringing people into that and building that sort of family at work type environment. I think that's really cool. Well, let me switch gears and go a little bit more into some more marketing oriented topics. So let me start with this. What activities do you find most effective for reaching potential clients?
I feel like it's so different. The difference between when I started practicing and the environment now. For example, there was a time here in Missouri where you weren't even allowed to advertise. Certainly, billboards, commercials, and all that. And I don't do that anyway. But it's a different place now. And then with the pay-per-click and other methods of driving traffic on search engines, I mean, that's huge. That's without that, I don't know how people survive. It's just a real different world than it was 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. We did radio and it didn't do anything. We did some print ads and things, and those really didn't do anything. As doing targeted stuff online through somebody who knows what they're doing, that's the difference between making it and not, I think, at least for us.
Yeah, well, we'd certainly agree for many firms. So you talked about, lots of changes in 20 years, but even changes in 10 years, doing the radio advertising and so forth.
Yep.
I'm curious, you're the firm, you have partners. What are the biggest challenges to marketing within the law firm?
If we were a one-trick pony and all we had to, let's say we did personal injury law and that was it. We have some good friends downstairs here in this building who do that. I think the marketing and the marketing message becomes a lot easier. Whereas when you've got a firm like ours that has different departments, bankruptcy, criminal, collections, general civil litigation, construction litigation, those have different audiences who interact differently with searches. I mean, so it's all different stuff. And then think about trying to generate or improve your presence on the web with customer reviews, how Google has made that a priority. Well, for a criminal law practice, nobody wants to go on and put their business out there and say, yeah, Tony and Tim, they did a great job with my whatever kind of case. Nobody wants to do that. And for the bankruptcy practice, it's sort of like that too. Nobody really wants to put that out there. The challenge is trying to promote the firm, promote specific practice areas, has required pretty much each of the departments to kind of have their own plan. And they can't fight with each other. And we try to avoid conflicts behind the screen, I guess, of, I'm running an ad on this platform. Is that doing something to this other platform that I don't know? Those are the kinds of questions I have. But for me, I've stuck with what I'm doing with your company because it's been consistent. For whatever reason, the formula for my deal is working.
In a previous life, I worked with large law, and the ongoing debate there was always, how much do you market and brand the firm versus the individual lawyers or the practice areas, because they all tend to compete. And the old saying of, well, people hire lawyers, they don't hire firms, like that kind of stuff. And it was everybody had an opinion, so it's
right.
the struggle is real.
I mean, if you got 800 lawyers and some big shiny tower, yeah, then you could spend a lot of time um, pumping that. But we represent normal people, and we represent people who are going online or on their phone late at night, probably, or whatever, to try to figure out a problem. You know, so they want they want to get to it quick, and they expect us to act quickly because a lot of these folks,
Yeah.
if you're not set up to interact quickly, they'll just move on to the next line on Google.
Well, Tony, just one more for you here. So, in thinking back to when you spun off from working for the prosecutor again and breaking off into your own practice, and obviously you joined a firm, but if you think back to that guy, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a sole or a small law firm that's starting off like that, that has limited resources, that can have the biggest impact on their marketing?
This is not an original idea, but and someone told me this too, and I listened to some degrees, and other times I didn't. But don't take every case. Um, take the right case, even if you need to, even if you need to bring income in. If they come in and you feel like you're going to make money, but you still have an uneasy feeling about the case or whatever, follow your follow your gut on that, because there'll be plenty of other phone calls to come in. There'll be plenty of other cases, and get thinking that, oh man, I'll just have to grin and bear it and do this one. It's probably a mistake. You know, some of the best advice I got was to just say, don't take everything. Um, be selective and listen to your gut.